Hello everybody and welcome to my bathroom renovation. And this one is at my very own house, which is really exciting because it means it doesn't have to be entirely gray. Very cool stuff. This house is from the 70s and I think that this bathroom reflects that really well, especially next to that neon pink in the hall there. What a color combo that is. But like any bathroom renovation, I'm gonna be starting out with the demo, ripping out this tub surround. This is an actual tile on the walls. It was just sort of a fake tile over den shield, surprisingly. So they actually did some sort of waterproofing here, though it wasn't done very well, but they tried, you know, gotta give them credit for that. With the walls off, exposing the plumbing, I can then turn water off to the house, which it was just off the entire time because no one was living here because it's disgusting. But anyways, cutting out that old mixing valve here and then capping these copper lines for the time being, always just good to do that in that sort of nice order of operations. As with any time that we're removing larger amounts of materials like this, we do want to try to keep it in larger chunks. Just makes it a whole lot easier bringing it out to the bin that's in the drive there. And it's a dusty process too, so make sure you got a respirator on at the very least, although, you know, some gloves, safety glasses are always good to have as well. They did have some soundproofing in this wall here, so I'm going to take that out and actually use that elsewhere in the house. Came in handy. And removing the tub then, sometimes these things get a little bit stuck and there was no preserving this tub. It was old, disgusting, needed to go, so when in doubt, smash it out. At some point, I had considered saving a bunch of the older cabinets in this house for future storage in the basement or the garage, but I don't think there was a single one that wasn't water damaged or just falling apart, so they ended up in the bin. And then I did actually end up removing the entire wall here because we are going to be relocating a lot of the mechanical items in this house, changing things up. And also that wall was just bad, really bad, not straight at all. It's going to be tiled too, so later on we'll be framing it out. It's just easy to get the drywall off now. And at this point, there was so much drywall gone, figured might as well just take off this stuff around the window. And same thing, the one by the door here was just an absolute banana, so did have to just do a little bit of reframing there as well because that thing was bowed. Just like any bathroom reno that we do, there will be a niche, which means a little bit of reframing in the shower area here. So I'm just gonna cut the nails at the top of these two studs and then just move them both over. I wanna do a nice long 36-inch niche in the center of the shower. I thought it'd make a really good focal point and just add so much room for future storage. Not that I really need it. I am a guy after all, so I just have my one bottle of 17-in-1 shampoo, conditioner, whatever black magic goes on there that I can put in the center of this niche, but you know, it's good to have. In any of these 5 by 32-inch tub surround style showers, very common building practice to have a stud right in the middle where your mixing valve needs to go. So I just cut them out, usually replace them because they're usually chopped up anyways. So cut it out, top and bottom again, pull it free from the drywall, put a new 2x4 in there, and that'll give us plenty of room to run our new plumbing. Back to the vanity wall here, and as I had mentioned, this needed to be reworked. It was really awful. You can see just the bow in it alone, but there was much worse going on than just that. So we did actually take out every single 2x4 in here and replace it with a 2x6 that we made sure was plumb flat with each other. And this is going to be really useful, not only for running new mechanical items. We are going to be converting what was once a single sink vanity to a double. We're also going to be running a ton of electrical through here, and it's going to be tiled as well with an artisan tile, which means we want a really flat wall to have that end up looking good. So just getting these 2x6s into position, making sure that they are all perfectly flat with each other, using a straight edge there to ensure we get good results. You'll also notice some arrows. That's just identifying the crown of the lumber here, that we can have it all positioned the same way. Again, just future-proofing everything. And here's just, you know, fun little example of the framing. And this whole house, honestly, the framing in this house was atrocious. Some of the worst I've ever seen. And we've done a lot of these projects, so lucky me, glad to have run into this fun stuff here. With the framing out of the way, we could then move on to the plumbing. Always do drains first because they gotta go where they gotta go. The water lines, the electrical can kind of work around that. So I'm gonna start by just cutting out this 3-inch stack, getting a Y onto that, and then coming over with a 2-inch line to where our vanity will be. We wanna run this to the center, and then eventually we can branch out to either sink. I absolutely could have just used a double fixture T here to go to either sink. However, instead I used a Y, came up and then teed off each one. This way, if you ever had to fish drain in the future, if there was a potential clog or something, instead of having that go straight across from one sink to the other, it can be very difficult to snake that. Instead, with this method here, it just kind of ensures that the snake's going to find the right path down the drain and just help improve your odds of clearing whatever potential clog you might have. And then they're going to go back up, join at the top, and that way they can be vented together, tying right back in to the existing vent here. Also, I do just want to make it clear, I'm not a plumber. I'm an electrician by trade. All this other stuff, I'm just kind of learning as I go. This stuff really fascinates me. It's fun, and I enjoy doing it and trying to learn all these other trades. Now, because we did move that wall forward a bit, that means we have to adjust the rough in for our toilet as well. Now, we would have eventually had to toy with this regardless of if we altered that wall or not, because it was in such rough condition and this floor was so out of level. But we just open up a small section of the subfloor here, come up with some new 3-inch ABS, and eventually we can get an offset flange onto that. And that's going to get us the correct rough in away from that rough framing there. For all the changes that were happening in the house, it was just easier at some point to just run all new PEX from the basement instead of teeing off of the existing copper and trying to work with the new layout and changes that we were making. PEX is really cheap. I really enjoy working with PEX, especially type A, where we can just use the expansion fittings. It's fun. It's cool stuff. I think it's a great system. Running all this stuff was cheap, fast, and that is why we chose to change to PEX instead of keeping all the old copper. This is just a very simple stub out system, stubbing out right with the PEX. You got these little brackets that you can run it through. It makes it really simple. They do make chrome sleeves, or maybe there's other finishes too available that you can cover the PEX with on the finished side of the wall later on for a better appearance. This is all within the vanity though, so we didn't do that for those ones specifically. I don't particularly care about it looking so nice in the vanity itself, but for this one here, this is for the toilet line. Later on, you'll see we did put a chrome sleeve over the PEX that was stubbed out. That way it's all nice and pretty. I know some guys like to stub out with copper only. That's cool. I'm okay with PEX personally. And then prepping the tub for installation. So just getting the drain and overflow system all glued up, siliconed into place here. This is a very straightforward installation. Now, whenever I do this kind of stuff, I go overboard with the silicone. I know it, okay? You don't have to be using as much as I do or necessarily all the places that I am. I wouldn't consider this part of the video for instructional purposes. However, some of these parts nowadays I found to be really cheap. And by just adding a whole bunch of silicone, it gives me some peace of mind. And I've never had any sort of a leak with this stuff, so it all works out. We went with black for this. I do wish, this is one of my regrets, I wish I would have gone with gold for in the shower. The black looks okay, just gold would have been better for the overall aesthetic and design choices that went into this bathroom. This is just a very standard tub, alcove tub. It's by Delta, this one. It has this sort of black webbing that I had to adhere to the side, which felt a little cheap. I didn't love that part of it. It all worked out in the end. Once it was installed, it felt just fine, but that part didn't seem right to me. Anyways, moving on though, we did get this ledger board installed, making sure it was level, and then dry fit the tub, check that everything's as level as can be before getting the actual install going. Before finalizing that, we did have to repair this exterior wall. So I got new insulation for this, better R value than the old stuff. Just fully insulating this wall to get a piece of blocking there that you can see that will be for the tub installation. So getting this new fiberglass insulation in, getting new vapor barrier in, and once that's all sealed up, then the tub can finally be installed. For this project, there was access to the plumbing from just behind that plumbing wall there. It's in a closet in another bedroom. That was really convenient, but also the ceiling below this tub was removed for other parts of the renovation. So hooking up all the plumbing was really, really straightforward. And then just pre-drilling all of the holes for the screws here and then fastening to the wall. You know, it's always good advice to be using stainless steel screws for this type of stuff. This is my own house though, so I used what we had available. It's all gonna be waterproofed over anyways. If any water ever hits these fasteners, then we have a problem. That's sort of the mentality I have adopted. I would love to hear if there's a reason why that would be some point of failure in the future. I can't really see that being the case, but just know for your own, you would be wanting to use a stainless steel screw. And then in some spots, just having to shim it out a little bit because this is an older house. Nothing here is perfect. and then covering up the tub. You got to protect it, right? It'd be a shame to put this new thing in and then scratch it all up. So I just use a combination of some blue painter's tape, some cardboard, and finally a sheet of plywood cut to size to fit over top of this, and then use the box that the tub came in to cover it because it's the correct size. So it works out beautifully. Getting some backing in for all the plumbing going into that wall there. And this is just the mixing valve here. I'm going to use a combination of Teflon and pipe dope to get the adapters in so that I can connect the PEX right to this thing, and I can get more blocking in up top for the rain head, and I'll eventually use a laser to ensure that my mixing valve, tub filler, and rain head are all in line with each other. Once I have that line established, I start by fastening the mixing valve into the wall here, and with that, all of the water lines can start being tied in. This is PEX A. We're using the expansion types fittings. Beautiful, beautiful system. It makes it so easy. Nothing wrong with the crimp style though. It's a little more affordable to the average DIYer if you wanted to go that route. And I am using 1/2-inch PEX to go to the tub filler, which you may have heard, don't do that, but this is a diverter mixing valve, so we're able to do that. You wouldn't want to do that if your tub spout was the diverter itself. That's not the case here. I do just use brass nipples with end caps on them to plug up any of those drop ears to make sure water should never be coming out when I don't want it to be during the renovation here. This is just below that tub. This is the tub drain connection. So I'm just going to put my P-trap on there, do a little dry fit for everything. You can kind of just make out where that vent is just beside it there. I'm just tying everything in, gluing it all up. And of course we do want to test our tub. You're going to test your water, test your drain, test your overflow, make sure nothing's leaking, because now is the time to find out you have a leak. Don't want to find that out later. This bathroom did not come equipped with an exhaust fan, so we got to put one in. I'm using a combination of a Panasonic fan with the Fitz flush mount drywall cover. Really beautiful combination. I'm going to cut out a chunk of that ceiling there. I checked, of course, to make sure there is nothing above it that would impede this fan going up, but I am just going to get all of the electrical connected. I'm going to put on an insulated duct here while it's still down, and then I can just shove this all up into that attic, screw it, and later on I'll go into the attic and make sure that this exhaust is ported out the side of the house, and it's going to make for a nice, easy installation this way. Now, where I'm located here in Canada, very popular material for boxes are these metal gangable boxes, meaning you can see and change the size of this. I made it into a 3-gang out of a bunch of single gangs. I'm just going to screw that on beside the door there. I'm going to have it 3 studs away. We don't want the casing to interfere with the cover plate at all. And I'm going to put another 2x4 on that end of it as well. And that way the drywall will hug it and it will be nice and tight after. And then a 4x4 deep box for some floor heating that will be going in. I'm going to put that above the switches more at eye level. And then another just box here, and that will be for an outlet. And yet another box here, again another outlet, and this will be for a bidet toilet that will be going in. And this actually got its own dedicated circuit because that heater and the fan can really draw some power. I'm going to send a fish up through the top plate here, and that way I can get some wires up for the pot lights and for the exhaust fan. And also running some more lines to this wall. I will have some wall sconces. So for these, I did just leave the wire buried in the wall. I left a whole bunch of slack so that later I could cut them all out to the exact specs that I would want, depending on the size of my mirrors and vanity. And then some more wires being ran. We will have an outlet in the vanity itself, which is that box you can see now. And then of course, another wire for that bidet toilet we mentioned. And then this is just a low voltage wire. I think it's 16.2, 18.2 would work too. That ran to the niche for an LED niche, and some 1/2-inch ENT conduit, which will go down floor, and that is of course for the floor heat system. Whole lot going on here. Maybe one day I'll get a dedicated video on bathroom electrical. It's really hard to explain thoroughly in a video like this one. I do also just want to note that we did rewire the entire house, and that's why you see just so many wires here. This wall was used as a main chase to get our wires from the basement up to the 2nd floor. So it's not just the bathroom electrical that you're seeing in this wall. Whole lot going on, and yeah, fun stuff. I'd also like to note that where I am, it's not currently code to ground your switches here with the metal boxes, of course. That's why I snipped all of them. Your local code might require that, so don't use this as exact what to kind of thing here, okay? Remember, local codes will differ a whole lot. I do always put in a temporary switch as well, which you just saw, and that's going to give us some lighting as we're renovating. But with all that done, plumbing's done, HVAC's done, electrical's done, all the framing's done, it's time for boarding, which is super, super satisfying to get to this point in any project. This is 1/2-inch green board, of course, because it's a bathroom. We want that mold resistant material. I guess we ran out of green board for this section here, but we had so much drywall in the house for other things that I guess we had some leftover regular drywall that we just put in on this end wall here. I'm really not concerned about any sort of mold or moisture issues. Got a new exhaust fan going in. I always use my fan. We use a really high quality paint. We seal everything, so I don't have any concerns personally. But anyways, with the shower itself, 1/2-inch Curdy board with the washers for the proper installation. Love this stuff. Really lightweight, easy to install. It's a little pricey, of course, but I don't think you should really be trying to save on money when it comes to waterproofing. Just do what makes sense. You don't want to work too hard. Also, I know a lot of people are always on about traditional cement board. It's cheaper. Yeah, well, it also sucks to work with. All right. So anyways, we love the Curdy board system. That's our go-to. Then we do have to cover every corner, seam, and screw with Curdy band. We are using Schluter's All Set Thin Set for this with the Curdy trowel. Just getting our thin set on the wall there, getting our banding over, and then collapsing the ridges with a drywall knife. Really, again, just an easy install. If you've never done this before, it isn't the most fun thing to do, I'll be honest with you, but you just got to get through it. It'll be over before you know it. Anywhere it meets the tub, you would just want to get thin set on the Curdy board side and then Curdy Fix on the tub side and just adhere all the banding into place that way. But with all that, mudding, taping, the joys could commence. Sebastian here getting a little bit of mesh tape over that Bits flush mount exhaust fan before mudding it all in. And here he's just using some hot mud, sheetrock 45 maybe, to pre-fill any of the larger gaps. So this will be done, then the tape will happen, and then finally the actual coats of mud can start being put on. Now, I had mentioned the framing in this house was bad, and that applies to the floor and ceilings as well. This floor was severely out of level, probably the most I've ever seen amongst any of the bathroom renos we've done. Of course, it just has to be at my own place. Beautiful. So we are going to self-level it here. I am using Mappe's self-leveler, just priming the floors first, using some spray foam around the perimeter or any holes in the floor so that the self-leveler obviously doesn't escape from the bathroom. You can mix up a bunch of bags of this stuff and then just pour it everywhere. I'm just going to use a 2x4 just to screed it a little. I just want to move it around a little bit, help it find its natural level. And then the next day after it's cured, I can cut away all of this excess spray foam. I will be using a self-adhesive heated floor system. So before putting that down, I am just priming it with Schluter's Primer U, I believe it's called. Let that dry, and then I can take the Dietra Heat Peel and Stick and stick it down over the self-leveler that is now primed. And this stuff sticks really well over time. It will continue to get more and more adhered. I believe it's pressure activated, so you would want to roll it out for best results. So we can just get this Dietra into place, get that nice orange and green combo with the pink outside the room. Love to see all these colors. And we can start laying in the heating cable. Using a 2-3 spacing, just trying to get it everywhere that you'll have foot traffic, keeping it away from any plumbing fixtures, walls, and floor registers. We can fish the wire up to the box there. We never want to cut the heating wire, but the 2 probe wires that detect the temperature in the floor, you can then put those into the floor, and the ends of those at the box side you can cut. You only need one of them, the other is just a backup. As an extra little step here, where that Dietra met the tub, I did just put a very generous amount of silicone all around those edges just to add a little bit further waterproofing. Curdy Fix would have been a better option, but I didn't have that on hand at that moment, so silicone's just fine. Not even a really necessary step in my opinion anyways. With these large format tiles, I'm going to have a nice bead of silicone from that tub to the tiles. That's going to work really well, and it's heated floors on top of that all, so the water is going to really evaporate, and a bath mat, so you know, we got all these things working for us. spaces. With these tiles, these are 2 foot by 2 foot tiles. I got them from Black Creek Tile in Milton. So if you're in the area, check them out. Really great tile store. Was really happy with the service and products there. And using some more thin set just to adhere it all down to the floor. 1/2 inch square notch trowel, 1/16 grout joints, wedge style spacers to ensure we have no lippage. And I really love this tile. I just wanted a nice neutral. I know I make fun of the gray, but I didn't want to really pull anything fun out of the floor. I just wanted it to be nice, neutral, a little hint of warmth in that gray. I was really happy with how this turned out. These are the accent tiles, and they are an artisan ceramic tile. So I did pre-soak them, right? Just put them in a bucket of water, let them absorb that water. And that way, when I'm adhering them to the wall, it won't pull all of the moisture out of the thin set. This is going to help us get a really tight bond here. Now, this was my first time working with an artisan tiler. Really, I don't have a ton of experience with small tiles in general. These days, everyone wants the larger tiles. They want that 2 by 2 porcelain. And so this was really fun for me. With that being said, I would have made one huge change if I were to do this again. And that's that I would not have used any spacers. See, this is an artisan tile, meaning each tile is a different size. They're all unique, so it's an imperfect sort of system we're working with. Instead, what I would have done is used a really nice non-sag thin set and just eyeballed all of my grout joints and done it that way. This would have made this infinitely easier. Still, it turned out great, but it just was a lot more time consuming this way, trying to use these spacers when each tile is a different size. It wasn't the perfect system. I got it to work, but just if you're going to be doing this yourself, go for that non-sag thin set and do it that way, I think. But gotta say, love this tile here. Again, from Black Creek Tile, which is a place local to me. Man, I am obsessed with these sort of artisan tiles. I think they're just beautiful. Schluter's largest niche that they make is only 28 inches long. We got a 36-inch one, so I took 2 20-inch niches, cut them down to size, used some silicone to adhere them together, some brad nails just also strengthen that, and then waterproof that seam. I did just put banding across the entire thing here because I am using a smaller tile. I just wanted to make sure we didn't have like a bump out where the waterproofing was just in that middle of that niche. So I just did the whole thing that way to make it even, and we can start tiling our walls. And again, another artisan tile. Love it. Can't get enough of it. And you might be confused. You might be saying, what is that? It's not gray. No, that's a color. I know, it's new to me too. They call this one green. And with these tiles, very fun, all sorts of different shades. Love it so much. Again, if I were to do this in the future, non-sag thin set, no spacers. Turned out fine, but it just would have made it easier had I done that. To cap off the edge of these tiles, I am just using a black tile profile. I mentioned this earlier, but I wish I would have done gold. It would have looked so good with the green. Black, you know, it's okay. It looks fine. It just could have been better, you know, but that's all right. With that first wall there done, I had my established grout line so I could take the laser, mark that height, and then cut out my niche accordingly. This way, it will have that grout line intersect with it perfectly. It'll just look really clean. Using a multi-tool to cut it out, I can just pop the niche in there, make sure I grab that low voltage wire that I buried in the wall, poke it out through the niche, and we can deal with all that fun stuff the next tiling day. Another very minor improvement I could make if I were to do this again, something I did not consider because all these tiles are different shades of green. I should have tried to have the corner tile where it meets the other wall match the same shade of the previous done wall. I just didn't think about that at the time, and I didn't notice until everything was all finished. It's not a big deal at all. Probably not something, you know, a normal person would notice without me pointing it out like I am right now, but just something I could have made a little bit better. To continue tiling above the niche, I did just take a piece of plywood and screw it directly up into the top of the niche. I can cover up the holes in the waterproofing later on, but I did just need to keep on going and working upwards. So that was just a necessary little step with that ledger there. Anytime you tile a niche, you do want that bottom row to have a nice pitch outwards to the drain, and you also want the top of the tile to be above the top of that bottom profile, assuming you're using tile profiles to do your niche. I like to miter mine, looks nice and clean that way, but this way any water that gets in that niche, and it will, I can just kind of roll right over the surface of that tile and right down into that tub. At some point, we primed and painted the ceilings. So this, of course, was after that, just taking my 4 and I think a 1/4 inch hole saw, drilling out pot light holes. We got 4 in this bathroom, and then we just run the wires from pot to pot. I'm up in the attic, Sebastian, with a nice little stick there just to show me where the holes are through all that blown in insulation. So I can just pop a wire down through each hole. You can make sure they're the right length, and we can get some pot lights into the ceiling. The grout on this wall was Latacrete Permacolor Frosty, just a very nice light gray to kind of blend into that tile. There's a lot of it, obviously, because there's just so many grout lines, but man, look how nice it's starting to get. And I should also make note, obviously, I did this before the vanity. It would have been easier to do the tiling once the vanity was in. I didn't know how long that was going to be, and I didn't want to be tiling too late into this home renovation, so that's why I did that so early on. And then, of course, getting the little accent lighting into that niche. This is a 4000K color temperature, 24-volt LED tape light that just gets put up top. And this is the driver for that light that just goes into the vanity where it's easily accessible. Got that low voltage cable connected to one end, and then the actual 120-volt wire connecting to the other. More of that same frosty grout for the floor. Not a lot to do here with these large tiles, but oh man, does it ever look good. And here is the 84-inch vanity that I made myself. That's right. All of the cabinets, got some custom built-ins in this house. The kitchen cabinets, vanities were made by yours truly. Still don't know why I decided to do that. Man, was it ever a lot of cabinets. I guess I thought it'd be fun, and it was until I was on to my like 30th cabinet box, and then it just got really repetitive. But hey, it turned out decently in the end. And as mentioned, because we did tile that wall before getting the vanity in, did just have to cut it all out to make sure everything would fit smoothly. And haven't had a lot of chances to remove my own tile before. Man, we had good adhesion, so happy about that because there was no getting that tile off without removing the drywall. So we got 100% coverage, which always happy to see. You can see now getting that vanity into place. It is 5 separate pieces, so we just kind of fasten them all together, making sure everything was straight and level. You can slide it into position, get these drawer boxes into place, and we can start getting on all of the drawer fronts and doors and start getting a nice look at it. This thing was made out of maple, which was a huge pain to stain. I didn't realize how difficult it was going to be to work with maple until I'd already built everything. I'd never done any sort of woodworking before. So honestly, I'm just impressed that this even functions. It was an interesting process. I don't think I would do it again, but I'm happy that I did because I learned a ton by doing it myself, and those skills will transfer over to other things. And here is that offset drain we kind of talked about a little bit earlier. I'm going to use an inside pipe cutter to get it to the right height, and then I can just sort of remove any more of the floor that I need out of the way before getting this offset flange down onto that existing drain line there. Glue it into place, screw through the porcelain tile, and really fasten this thing down. You can see we have it sitting on top of the tile, which is going to be fantastic for getting a good seal with that wax ring. Do just want to put a GFCI outlet in for this toilet. Again, all those fun features it will need power for. And this toilet is by Haro, who sent me this toilet free of charge. Really happy with this toilet. I mean, man, I have installed so many bidet toilets for clients, but I never had the joy of, using one for myself or owning one for myself. And this thing is fantastic. It is probably my favorite feature of the bathroom, and I think it's probably going to be my strongest recommendation to clients moving forward. In terms of value, I mean, come on, you use a toilet every day, get yourself a nice one. This one here by Haro, I don't have enough good things to say about it, honestly. Genuinely, I've heard this before from so many people that a bidet toilet will change everything, and it's just true. It does. It's fantastic. I'll have a link down below if you want to get one for yourself. This was a super easy installation. See all the steps involved there. Has a ton of features. Heated toilet seat, heated water. It opens when you approach. For men, you can kick it once on that little knob there, and it'll put up both lids. Fantastic toilet. I feel like royalty with this thing, honestly. Get one for yourselves, guys. Typically, when grouting and siliconing a shower, I will grout and then silicone, but in this case, I did the opposite due to the amount of grout lines. I knew that if I were to grout, I would fill all those change of planes with grout and not silicone. But we want that silicone in there for expansion and contraction reasons. We want the movement to be available as needed. The color here is Cavern Moss by Mappe, and that was a recommendation by my friends over at Golden Key Design, another YouTube channel. They do fantastic DIY content over there, so check them out if you aren't already familiar with them. They did a very similar tile in their own shower, this green. So I got the color recommendation from them because I was really struggling to find one that would work with this, you know, more rare colors. It's not what everyone's using these days, but it worked out really well. This is a really great grout too. I think I actually prefer it over the Laticrete grout. It has a sealer built into it already, so you get to skip that step, and it was really high quality stuff. But on that note, we could get in the plumbing fixtures, which is super fun. It's always a very good day when you're getting the final fixtures in. It's my favorite part of any job, doing these final fixtures. The candy, as my uncle would call it. You know, it's satisfying. You're at the end of the job. It's the pretty stuff that you're gonna look at, and the functional stuff too, right? So cool things happening here. Getting this trim work in now for the door. It's nice. I think this was 3.5 inch wide casing. I think the baseboards were all 5.5 inch, maybe. Just the step profile, which is that just one simple slanted profile there. It's my favorite style for sort of a more modern look. Very clean look too. Not a lot of surface area for dust to collect onto. And it's a little bit more elegant than your typical like just square baseboard that you'll see a lot of these days. I didn't get this on video, unfortunately, but our countertops were installed by A Granito World here in Mississauga. So if you're local, check them out. Do great work. Vic, who helped me out with this, great guy, really fast response time. They came out and measured for all the countertops in my house and installed them, I think within 3 days of coming out for measurements, which is an insanely fast way of doing it. So I was really happy. It was the only thing in the house actually that wasn't done by Sebastian and I, were the countertops, and they did a great job. So I was really impressed by that. But with the countertops in, I could then kind of get the location for my mirrors and sconces, and you see I cut them out after the fact, which, you know, a little tricky cutting through finished tile, but made it work. Get my nice gold sconces into place, these nice arched gold mirrors in as well, and it's really starting to pop now. And you can see how nice that gold looks in the room. Beautiful finish there. And coring through the installed countertop, because I did change my mind on the type of faucet I wanted to install. I ended up going with a widespread faucet, and I'm actually really happy that I did that because I love a widespread faucet and I think it goes beautifully in this space here. And there we have it. I had a whole lot of fun with this one, guys. Working on something that's so different from the rest of the projects we've done was really fun and fulfilling. I really enjoyed using some different colors, smaller tiles, building a custom vanity. These were all things that were new to me, and it was really fun to do this. And on that topic, seeing a lot of people doing projects and renovations, I often feel as if they're doing them for the masses instead of their own likes and interests. And I get it if it's purely for resale value, maybe the budget's a little tight to do all the things you want to do, completely understandable, but I just think in some situations, you should cater the project to your own likes. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and even if you're going to be living in a home for just a short period of time,
I think you should be the one to enjoy it. Also, huge shout out to my sister for helping with the decor in this bathroom. That's not my strong suit, so you'll be seeing a lot more of her touch in future projects on this house. Typically, this would be the point in the video where I share the exact cost and timeline for this project. However, I will not be doing so just yet. Instead, eventually I'll be doing a longer video going over the entire house reno, sharing the costs for everything and the timeline, because this bathroom could have taken us 2 weeks if we just did it straight, but that's not really how it worked out. Roughly, I would say this probably cost about $4 grand US in materials, but that's a rough ballpark. If you're located in Mississauga, Ontario, or in the surrounding areas and are looking for a renovation, my contact info will be down below. And that's about it for this. If I could just ask, maybe hit that subscribe or like button on your way out, and I hope you have a beautiful day.